Same on the email.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:32, and I guess that I got in trouble for having the meeting at 6:30. I was told that town meetings never start at 6:30, they always start at 7. So I've had several people tell me that we can't do this, and I don't know. So if we have to have another one, maybe we'll...
No.
No.
But I thought 6:30 was okay. We have zoning board meetings at 6:30. Regular town meetings will stay at 7, but this is not a regular town meeting, so. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the time of the meeting. So what? Okay, we will take the roll, and looks like everybody is here as all the trustees are present. And before we start, one of the trustees and the chairman of the zoning board, James, wanted to make a statement.
Yeah, make a few comments.
Okay, you can do that.
Suggestion. First, I think the Rules Committee should be the zoning board, not just a committee. I think the zoning board, you have 6 members on the zoning board, which is an ample amount of members, and they certainly meet the qualifications to determine the safety, welfare, and health of the community. So that's my first recommendation, and I'd like to see the trustees even vote on it. So, second thing is we keep getting these terms all confused. People are calling it, vacational rentals by owner, and we call it in the zoning book short-term transit rental. And you can have a short-term rental can be a VRBO, but a VRBO is not a short-term rental. It's kind of confusing, and I would like to see us adopt what's in the book.
What did you call it again?
It's a short-term transit rental
Thank you.
instead of a VRBO.
Now, are you saying the VRBO is not a short-term transit rental?
I said it
because
can be.
It can be. Oh, it can be. Okay.
The other thing I have, in reference to the Garrettson's request, there's absolutely no justification. They asked for a conditional change of use, period. And that was it. And just because they want it doesn't make it justifiable. So I think that ought to be a factor that we look at. That you let me finish.
Sure.
That it is the responsibility of the person making the request to provide justification. So I think that ought to be, one of their letters, Mike Rupp's letter, has the right solution, I thought, and his brother Mark agrees according to the letter, and I'd like to read the part of that letter that I think is very important. And it's to Jesse and Jara, and it says, I hesitate to venture into the minefield that this contentious issue has become in our previously peaceful little community. I want you both to know that I'm in only doing so now because of the high regard that I have for the two of you and my interest in bringing this issue to a closure. As I assume, this letter will be shared with the Pitkin Board of Trustees. I must also admit to more than a little disappointment at being dragged into this issue by the reluctance of those who have been elected and empowered to make decisions regarding the enforcement of Pitkin's zoning code to do so. As awkward and uncomfortable as making decisions on contentious issues like this is, that is the job they signed up for, and I feel it is inappropriate to shift the responsibility and blame for making the decisions to residents and neighbors. I also want to state for the record that I do not approve of short-term rentals being allowed in residential zone areas as a general practice. Moreover, where it is allowed, I do not believe it should be unconditional. However, I feel there are extenuating circumstances in this particular case that merit individual consideration, and we should not let the fear of setting precedents prevent us from making the best decisions for all involved. I feel the Board of Trustees should have and should use the discretion to make decisions based on the merits of any particular case, and we should encourage them to do so. Then they went ahead and said that they'll go ahead and support the change of use in this case. Also, the letters from the Sullivan family, you know, at 713 State Street, there's 4 letters. There was a form letter, and it all said the same. So basically, to me, that's just one letter. And I don't know where that 75 feet came from the old copies of the zoning
James,
code.
we're
Wait a minute, required
We're
the
not
two.
really talking about
No,
Jesse's
I have the
conditional
floor.
use.
Were you at
but
the last meeting?
Get away
I
from
was-
Jesse's conditional use. We're
I
not
have the
talking
floor.
about
I
that.
believe that I.
James, you may have the floor, but the meeting was noticed to address the
That's why we're here.
creation of the committee, and you are off point. So
Okay.
respectfully, we need to move it on.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
But just because people illegally break the law does not make it right. And the short-term rentals, as you said, Jim, are illegal in Pitkin at this time. And, you know, like I said, people, well, anyway, it's, you know, 2 wrongs don't make a right, so, as
But
the
that's
old
what
age
we're here
goes.
to address.
And, yeah. And, you know, we took an oath of office for health, welfare, and safety, both the state of Colorado and local law, so.
Oh, okay,
So
well,
anyway, that's my comment at this time.
okay, well, and I appreciate your comment, and the easiest thing for me to do would be to just turn this over to the zoning board and let them do it, but the people out there, I think that a lot of them want to have a say. And whatever the committee comes up with, the town council will get a chance to go over it, okay it, change it. We don't have to adopt it just like that, but I think that the people would like to have a say.
I think the people's been having a say.
Well, yes.
Vote from both sides.
I just had one little thing to add to one of the points that James made about the Garrettson's request not giving any justification.
Well, we're
No,
not
I know,
talking
but-
about
no,
the
but this
Garrison's
is-
request.
I know, but Steve, this is important, and I think I already told you this before, but I just want to say it publicly, that if we were to approve that request the way it's written with no justification, anybody in the future, if it were approved, anybody in the future could come up here and say, well, I want to have a strip club on Main Strip, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. They could, because then we'd say, you know, that's illegal, and it's in our ordinance, or it's not permitted use. And then they go, well, Jesse Garrettson, it was not a permitted
Well-
use. I mean, whatever they want to do.
I'm sorry, but we're just off, this is not what we came here to do. Okay, Judy,
I think that you should define exactly what we're here to do.
that's
What we
what,
discussed last
yes.
meeting, which,
Right, regulations for all the
Well,
short-term rentals.
yes, and this
Not
is,
deciding anything about
No.
the
what we're gonna
other
do.
issue.
There are things that I think that need to be put in there. Good ideas that we've all talked about, like even in the business zoning where there's no change of use is required, you know, there needs to be a local manager's name and phone number need to be posted. We need to have, I've heard it mentioned, we need to have smoke alarms in the bedrooms, stuff like that. We need to set forth rules like that and rules for if somebody wants to do a change of use. If somebody wants to ask, we have to have some kind of rules. With a lack of any kind of rules, I just asked Jesse to get letters from his adjacent neighbors, and we would talk about it. But apparently, people feel like that's not good enough, so that's what this group of people is going to work on.
Well, I think the whole town, as small as this town is, the whole town is your neighbor.
Yes,
So it's not just people that's right next door or adjacent. You know, it's the whole town is the neighbors.
Okay, well, I guess the first thing to do is to decide how many people are gonna be on this committee.
Well,
If you
Wait a
want to go
minute.
ahead with it.
wait a minute. Okay, so these rules will be for even on commercial,
Yes,
everything?
if they
Okay.
so deem it, yes. It's just like things
What do you
that
mean,
I
if they
mentioned.
so
Mr. Mayor, I
deem
have
it?
to interrupt.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not if they so deem it.
What?
It's the town has to approve it.
That's correct.
That's, I mean,
And
if
so
they
it's
deem it to
imperative
be
that you
requested.
understand that this
Okay,
committee,
wrong word.
you're proposing an ad hoc committee.
Yes,
But that ad hoc committee is merely going to make a
that
recommendation
is
to the
correct.
board.
That is
Quite
correct.
frankly, the zoning folks should be weighing in on that proposal prior to, at the same meeting. You should have reviewed it and be weighing in on your perspective. But there is no as they determine it.
Right. That was a poor choice of words. Corey?
Just question about, I think you kind of touched on this. So is the process going to be create a committee comes up with recommendations, goes to the zoning board, goes to the town council? I mean, in my mind, that's the logical thing, that these are all pretty much dealing with
Yeah.
the zoning ordinance.
That's pretty
So I
much
don't
the way
think-
I would be.
I don't see
Yeah.
how this committee could bypass the zoning board.
It should go to the zoning
So, I
board.
mean, I don't think anybody here is even defining the process, much less, I mean, I don't see how you can define all the individual components without defining your process, period.
I'm not sure what that comment means.
Well, we're talking about a committee, and then there seems to be some confusion about what role this committee plays.
Well, I
I
just
understand
wanted
you're saying if the committee says yay or nay, the zoning board may just shoot it
I know,
down
but we
immediately.
nobody's
and
even
This is all for
defining it. I'm
naught.
just asking for clarification, and maybe the board agrees that, maybe I'm off in left field. Maybe just, okay, it needs to go to the town council, but, I mean, if it's a zoning ordinance issue that, okay, this is fine, and maybe this committee is a good way of getting input from people that live here.
That's what it is.
But yeah, so I think it should go to the zoning board
That would be
and
my
then to the
understanding.
town council. Now you can define your process. Now you know what you have to have
That's
happen.
pretty much my presumption, Corey.
Okay.
But this is just a way for the people in town to at least have a say, come up with ideas, give opinions, and we'll try to go from there. And then the town will have the final say, the zoning board and the town council. Yes?
Now, is the purpose of this committee to, at this point in time, develop rules that apply to short-term rentals in the business district? Or is it to also define rules for short-term rentals in residential areas?
It is to come up with suggestions for rules in the business zoning and for ways to apply for a conditional change if somebody wants to do one in residential. We have to have some kind of guidelines and some kind of rules.
I don't know if we're still in the public comment section or where we're at here, but
No.
just my thought would be, I mean, I think it's good. You can't, short-term rentals, it's a hot topic in a lot of towns. You can't, I don't think the solution
Yes.
is just a blanket yes or a blanket no. And I don't think, I just don't think that's your solution. I think it's going to be a complicated process. It's going to push people's buttons, but I think you're going about it the right way of saying, okay, it's not a blanket yes or no problem, that there needs to be rules, regulations, or guidelines, however you want to word it, that,
There is.
I feel like
You
we're-
do it in
we're-
commercial and you
Ma'am,
can't.
This is not a dialogue.
I feel like
Respectful.
as a community, we've kind of are working towards a solution here. I just kind of
It is
public comment here.
Candy?
Okay, at the last town hall meeting, it was decided to have this committee to make recommendations for guidelines for short-term rentals in residential. There was never anything mentioned about doing commercial. And I don't understand why commercial businesses that do lodging, whether it be the Silver Plume or the Pitkin Hotel, Quartz Creek Lodge, why there are going to be changes made for them.
There won't be probably. It'll be for anybody who wants to have a short-term rental in our house.
In a house.
Cause see, the residential, even though
That's
they're,
in commercial zoning.
yeah, even though it's in commercial zoning, permitted residential.
Okay, thanks for
And,
clarifying.
and we're not going to say you can't do it or you have to apply for this or that, but asking them to have smoke alarms in the bedrooms or put a phone number up for a contact person, I don't think that that's asking too much.
No.
You know, I don't think so. We're just, you know, we're not going to say that you can't do it or have to ask or anything like
They've
that.
already been existing, so. you know.
I guess I would like to ask the attorney if you have any suggestions for how we
Mr.
go
Mayor, I
about this.
prepared a brief memo on that.
Okay?
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, I prepared go away. I prepared a suggestion as to
Okay.
the manner in which you select your committee members. You can see that on the first page, and on the second page, I made a list of questions that I think would be appropriate for consideration of the committee. And so, in response to Trustee James's remarks earlier, the whole idea is they provide some recommendations. It has to go to the zoning board. Because quite frankly, the zoning ordinances are going to have to evolve one way or the other.
That is true, but while the zoning board is an open meeting, anyone attending would have an opportunity, because it's state statute, that they be heard. So if they had input and comments, well, then they could make them.
That may be
that
well
was
and
my
good.
recommendation for the zoning board to start it.
Fair enough.
Okay, and
I have, just quickly reading Jim's
Sure.
letter here. I agree with the 5 or 7 person
Yes.
number, so it's an odd number. I think that's great.
Mhm.
Encourage participation from both sides of the issue. I think it's great. Limit the participants to persons residing in the town of Pitkin. I believe you should be a property owner instead of just residing here, because I think that, my opinion is that, you know, if you don't own property here, then quite honestly, you don't have the best interest of the town long-term, you know, in mind.
it's going to be difficult to really hammer down who resides here and who doesn't, you know, because there are some property owners spend time here.
Well, that's fine. I'm saying
Yeah,
if you're a property
sure.
owner, you can be here 1 week
Right.
a year if you own property.
you own it.
I'm
You're
kind of
vested
agreeing with
interest
you.
in the town.
Yes, I'm kind
But
of agreeing with you. Yes.
Yeah, but if if you don't own property, then I don't
Yeah.
think what's your interest in town? I mean,
Yes,
Yeah, I agree.
okay.
So I'd like to change that to property owners. I don't care
Okay.
how long you're here. You can be here 2 or 3 days, but, or none.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment to that, please?
Okay, John?
I think that there is a great deal of properties in Pitkin that are actually owned by trusts. And, you know, I do not own my house, but my wife and I are the trust.
Well,
So why should we be discounted based upon that?
Well, I don't think we're going to discount you. We're not going to, when we pick these people, we're not going to ask them to bring a deed up and show it to us. You know, you live here, that's good enough.
are you in the
Well-
trust? I mean,
Well, I mean, we are the trust.
yeah, that's what I mean.
That's-
So you,
yeah.
basically.
You know,
That's
Yeah, it
the
doesn't matter how
point,
it's titled.
is the trust owns the property, but they have the
Manager.
power attorney, or they have the authorization of the trust to
Yeah.
represent that trust within the town.
Well,
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
not
I'm
gonna-
trying to distinguish.
We're not going to ask
the
people
titling
to
of the
bring up
property.
deeds.
It's owned by a trust, but we pay all the taxes,
Well-
insurance, remodeling and all that.
That's not
Okay.
my point.
It's been suggested we have between 5 and 7 people. I think 7 would give a few more people the chance. You know, and at this point, I guess I could kind of read off the letters from people that I got who'd like to be on it. And I'll just kinda go through them here real quick.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Can you hammer out the criteria before you get into the next phase?
Okay,
I just think that that would be a lot more effective in terms of determining who's eligible, how many, and really decide that issue and then start worrying about who they are.
okay, well, I thought we had kind of,
I'm fine with 1 through 5,
Yeah.
other than I think it should be a property owner.
yeah,
I mean, that's a
Property
pretty
owners.
simple thing, I mean.
Kathy?
If you have somebody like me that's living here year-round now, but I rent, I feel that, you know, anybody that's renting here year-round should have just as much say as somebody that owns property here. Because actually, I am a resident. So I don't see how you can discriminate between somebody that rents and owns. That's kind of like going back to a feudal system of government, where the peasants aren't allowed to have any say, only the property owners. And I think that's discriminatory.
Yes,
Ma'am, I don't know who you are, have you been here a while, or
I moved here March 25th. I'm a permanent resident now.
of this year?
Yes.
Ann?
Is her name on the lease?
Is her name on the list? It
On the
is.
I don't know if that's
Oh,
anybody's
the
business,
lease.
but,
Oh,
I have a
You're
driver's
right.
license for Colorado. I am co-leasing. I am a registered voter in Colorado.
Okay.
I have a problem with some, I'm gonna say transient person deciding policy for the town, even if they're renting here. I mean, I don't think that's a long-term best interest of the town.
I agree.
With all due respect, I resent being called a transient.
Okay, whatever.
Brad?
I'd just like to point out on Matt's comment, the risk here, if the town eventually has to put in a sewage system, is the property owner. The allowing of short-term rentals in town, that's who's gonna have to come up with the money to put in if that system, if this happens. Now, that's an if, I agree. But in support of Matt, I tend to agree.
He has no skin in the game.
Corey?
I just want to make one comment. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with anybody, but property ownership has been used in the past, end of slavery as a way of discriminating against votes. At that point, you had to own property to vote. And so I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I see merit in both arguments. I can understand, what's the preview will be here a year later, but just for the sake of, not going down that rabbit hole
Yeah.
that property ownership could be just, construed as discrimination.
Well, but do you want people that maybe somebody just is just staying at the hotel and just said, oh, yeah, I think that I'd like to do this.
Like I said,
Where do you draw the
I'm not agreeing or
line?
disagreeing. I'm just providing a point of consideration.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
you have
agree or
to,
disagree.
you have to draw the line
I
somewhere.
can definitely see the merit on both sides.
Jim, attorney?
Jim is fine.
Jim, okay.
Mr. Mayor, the reason I suggested persons that reside in the town of Pitkin is because this is more than just a property rights issue. The issues involved, be it lifestyle, noise, nuisance, a number of attendant issues that speak to the quality of life in the Pitkin community. Thus, I recommended residents as opposed to property owners. I don't think that there's any restriction on Mr. Buchanan's recommendation. I think it's all good. That's why I suggested it that way.
Okay, let's try to, I guess we can try to move on and try to pick that we want.
Let's pick 5 or 7 and
Yes.
move on.
Can we vote on
5 or
these
7,
issues?
and whether it's property owners or just residents.
Well-
We need to say, so
Steve, you gotta
we
make a
know who
decision
to-
before you move it on.
We gotta
Okay.
vote.
Rachel?
I would just like to encourage you all to remember to act in a professional manner as we proceed, because I think this is going to be not a quick fix, and as our council, you might get some flack from us in here, but you're holding positions of trust for us, and I need you to remember that you guys can affect the level of this, so I'm encouraging you. And the second thing is, of the people that apply to be on this committee, of the people in this room, the only person that does not own property that I am aware of is Kathy. So basically, what you're saying, loud and clear, is that as it stands right now, if this committee is meeting after this meeting, as we discussed, it's gonna be from this group, and you're trying to make it so that she can't, I mean, it's just obvious. It's not like we're having this committee in 2 months when a lot of visitors will wanna be on it. Kathy lives here full-time. It's just obvious what's happening, that's all I'd like to say.
Well, okay, we're gonna accept 7 people. And do I go ahead and read the names
Do
now?
you make that decision, or does the trustees make that decision?
Then the trustees can,
They haven't voted yet.
okay,
That's got to be a trustee.
okay. Then what do the trustees think?
Well, ask us if we would, like 5 or 7, and we'll raise our hand, yea or nay.
Matt, you want to make a motion?
You wanna
I
make
make a
a,
motion that there's 7 people on the committee.
I'll second that motion.
okay, all in favor of having 7 people, raise your hand. Okay, opposed? Okay, it's gonna be 7. Okay, now should we just asking Jim, can we go ahead and read the names or of the emails that I have?
Well,
What
I'd like
about
to make- Steve,
the
I'll make a
qualifications?
comment. I'll rescind my objection to residents versus property owners. I honestly don't know you and didn't know you, or, you know, I've never met you and didn't realize you're the only one on the list that wants to be in it that is not a property owner. I just didn't want, and that was not my intent. It was that I felt like that was, it should be in the interest of the property owners, but, you know, I guess.
If I may, do we have a list of like the 19 people where we could just look at it, like circle it and hand it in type thing?
Yeah.
Well, I thought that we would, yeah.
Or else, as you read them, we write, well, no, we all need to see.
Well, see, I did get emails from some people, but I felt like some people here at the meeting would probably also want to raise their hand and be considered. So I wasn't going to limit it just to the emails that I got.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
are you going to call or request a vote as to the qualifications for the members of the committee, i.e. they are residents of the town of Pitkin?
Well,
You just can't assume.
okay,
You need to give
they
them-
have to be residents of
No,
the town of Pickett.
It's got to be a motion.
Okay. Who wants to make the motion
I
to
can't.
limit it to residents?
I'll make a motion as long as they are resident of Pitkin, they are able to be on the committee.
Okay.
They've been here at least a month or something.
No.
Well, I mean, okay, there's a lot of people say they're residents and they're, they don't really live
Well,
here.
we need to make the motion.
Well, but in order to do this legally, we need a motion and we need a second.
I've made the motion,
That they need to be a resident.
correct?
Okay, do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, I got a second from Rand. All in favor of requiring these people to be a resident of Pitkin, signify by raising their hand. Okay, opposed? Okay, we had 1 opposed. Okay,
Now, Steve, do you want to go through and identify the persons? Do you want to give them a chance to?
I'll give them a chance to speak if they want to.
Right, but what we probably need is a list.
Yeah.
Well, she's gonna make up the list as we
Well,
Lisa's
no,
gonna make
so
up the
They
list.
want the list ahead of
And then
time.
we'll copy it, and then each board member can make 7 choices.
We
On
can do
paper, correct?
What?
Yes.
I have one more question.
Yeah, Matt?
Would we accept people from the same household?
I
Two-
think
Two or
it's
three people from the same household?
probably better if you don't, but
Okay.
I don't think we have
It's
to
not a
sit
set
down,
down,
you
okay.
know, yeah. Okay, I will,
I had one concern, is that to me it feels like if there are people who would profit financially from short-term rentals.
I don't
is
see
that-
how you're going to answer that. I mean, that's.
Could be
kind of-
any of us.
Yeah, that could be anybody. I don't wanna get into, I don't wanna start that. Yeah, Rachel?
I would like to address the council. When you start to research into what other places have done regarding this issue, the number one advice the town councils get is to look to their constituents for ideas. And as someone who stands to profit from this, being that I clean these units, I have a very good understanding of what the problems of it is, what the benefits of it is. To not seek my opinion or that of the prominent business owner in town, like Susie just asked, it was a question. To me, it just seems like a folly. So keep in mind, this is a committee to come up with solutions to what's going on in town right now. Ideas, and to not inquire of someone who stands to financially gain is foolish.
Okay.
Cause, yeah, that's
And what,
whole thing. I mean, their side is gaining from this, so.
well,
Well, that's why we're picking 7
So
people to
that's
try to
why-
keep.
Yeah, but we're gonna-
I'm
You know what I'm
picking
saying?
7 people out. I wanna talk to them. I mean, I want their opinion,
okay, Kathy?
you know?
I think the advantage of also including people that are involved in the short-term rental business is that they're gonna know that business better than anybody. If they're reputable business people, they're gonna offer a lot of intelligent suggestions and input.
I'm not going to exclude anybody. Not on the, not on that basis anyway. Okay, just kind of starting from here, and I guess if you want to stand up and mention any qualifications, that will be good. But I got a letter here from Rachel New that she wanted to be on it. She's already spoken. I got one from Rand Mikowski, Bill Inspector, Sanitary and Fire Chief. I got one from Brad Wick. And I got one from Lisa Stonequist, or Lisa Javis, whichever. Okay, and then Kathy Rose sent one. And that was,
Anybody else interested?
Chris sent one.
You
Sure.
want the rest of them?
Those probably, I didn't get those. This is
Did you
just
get all
what
the
I,
emails from Nancy today?
I don't have time to come home and turn the computer on.
I got
I'm lucky to
19
get
today.
it.
So the question was, I'll read the rest of them if you want me to.
Okay, if you want to, go ahead.
We've got Ann Poseen.
Mhm.
We've got Gwen Matisse, Candy Nasso, Rachel New. Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay. Susie Metzler, Pete Olson.
James? She's scribbling as fast as she can.
Susie, Pete
Where was it after
running for the
Susie?
board, though.
He would
7
like to
11.
be on it, but he can't be
Pete?
here if it starts tonight unless it can.
All right,
I'll just write, I'll still write it down.
Okay, let's start over here. You got Brad Wick,
Okay, let me go through here. Okay, I got, yep,
you got Joe Buchanan,
nope,
Chris Nasso,
Who?
Chris.
Yes.
Nasso.
okay,
Okay.
and Kathleen Rose,
yep.
Joe Grenewalt,
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm Joe Brenewalt, and I don't think a lot of people know me here. My brother and I own the railroad depot here in Pitkin. My family has owned that since the mid-'70s. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to
Olson.
introduce myself and my wife Janet
Okay,
to the group, and glad to see that
Susie
you received my
Metzger.
application.
okay, thank you.
Where's your letter?
Well,
That's,
apparently it did not get forwarded.
Okay.
I've got it right here. I'll put
was
it
that
on.
Glen Post?
This is-
Oh, I
Yeah.
haven't got her yet.
Here's John Weiss right
Okay,
here if you
okay.
want.
John Wise.
Yeah, that was just brought in.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Somebody making a list.
Susie.
14 so far.
Are there any other folks that are in the audience that are interested in serving on the committee that have not submitted a request?
Can they, once y'all get this sorted out, can you read off all of them?
Sure we
but
can.
I submitted an email to
Oh,
Casey, but I'm not
Corey.
sure if anybody has.
And
put it in
Candy,
my
were you on the
bag.
list?
Candy and Corey.
But if there's anybody else that's interested, now is the time to put your name in.
Corey Nasso was also wanting
got
to
Corey.
be on.
We got it.
And
Did you get Candy as well?
also,
Yep.
Chris Nasso, you know, someone who knows you probably can't. Joe Buchanan. I thought I had
I do.
one. I thought, did you have one too, Candy? I thought you did. There was
I have
one from
Candy.
Candy also. Yeah, did you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
15.
Excuse me?
15.
Lisa, can you now read the
1, 2,
list?
3, 4, 5.
Would everyone please be quiet for a moment? If you are interested and your name is not read out, throw something at Rand. No. Matt.
Okay.
I know, line of fire.
Okay, Rachel New, Rand Mikowski, Brad Wick, Lisa Javis, Kathy Rose, Chris Nasso, Ann Poseen, Gwen Matisse. Do I have Candy twice?
No.
Candy Nasso, Susie Metzler, Pete Olson, Joe Buchanan, Joe.
Grinawalt.
Okay, I think I spelled it kind of right. Lynn Pope, John Weiss, and Corey Nasso.
I didn't see a Lynn.
Lynn Pope.
Pope?
Yeah, that came in late this
Yes.
afternoon.
Yeah.
So there's 16.
Is there anybody that she missed?
Okay, now,
There you are, sir.
are we going to copy this and then
Yeah.
when we select, we each vote for 7?
That would be my suggestion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Corey,
Okay, say that again.
Are people gonna get a chance to kind of speak and
if they want
not-
to,
Not
yes, they
necessarily
can.
justify why, but, I mean, I feel like people should at least stand up, maybe introduce themselves, so this
They
isn't
can
just a
have the
popularity
chance,
contest.
yes.
What did you just say?
Okay,
Actually, we're most of
we're
them, I
going
don't
to
know if all of
run-
us said I read all the emails when I got home from work tonight.
Well, I mean, like, my letter, I just submitted it yesterday, and I figured I would.
We're going
I would stand up
to
and
make
speak.
copies of the names.
Yours
and
was short and
each-
sweet.
And
Hmm?
Yours
each
was short and
trustee,
sweet.
and each
I'm gonna do
trustee will check 7 names.
Steve, could I please read the oath so the audience knows the oath that we took when we became trustees?
Let's wait till the attorney comes back in, wait till everybody's back in here.
Okay, but
Yes.
then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And before we vote, anybody that wants to will have a chance to stand up and say, this is why I think that I'm qualified. Yes.
Should that be more than if they want to? Shouldn't to make us all aware of where people's hearts and desires are with this, that they actually stand up and tell us?
Well, they're gonna have a chance to stand up and say whatever they want to. I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, we're gonna have to limit this. We're not gonna
Well, but
spend all night on this,
For the
but,
sake of brevity, we shouldn't be making any mistakes.
well, yeah.
You're asking them to vote before they vote.
Yeah, let's see, who's the town trustee? It's just Susan?
Did Randy?
Oh, Randy, yeah, I think it's almost the building inspector. I don't know. Yes,
Well, I'm gonna have all
All this at the same time. Okay.
But there's.
They're already checked.
Yeah.
There's checks on all of them that she was going through.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, circle them. Circle them.
Wait a minute, somebody already voted on this.
Yes, it's part of my secret agenda.
And there was 8 checks.
Really? Pretty good.
Okay, okay,
None of them are circled.
okay, raise your hand.
Can she do her thing?
Oh, that's right, she wants to read our oath.
Thank you. When the town trustees, when we became town trustees, we took an oath to the town and to this committee and this office. And what it said was, what we did was said, and then we named our name, do affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and of the state of Colorado and of the ordinances of the town of Pitkin, and faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee upon which I am about to enter. And so that was our oath that we all took. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard that. Many of you probably have not.
Okay. Okay, would any of these people, raise your hand first? Would like to stand up and speak? Okay, Corey.
Sure, I'll be the first one. Most people know me. I'm Corey Nasso. I think been in a unique situation, being at the store. Kind of, people come in, people talk. We kind of hear a lot of things go around, and so no, this is a hot topic. There's people on both sides. Like I said earlier, the solution is not a blanket yes or no. I think we need to work towards something that benefits everybody. That's kind of a compromise where people are going to butt heads. I may not have a background in public service, but I graduated with an engineering degree. I have a business minor. I've worked several years as a quality engineer, but the joking title was problem solver at a 24/7 manufacturing facility. So what I was trying to get at earlier is you have to define a problem. You have to define your variables, the things you can control, to work towards a solution that works for people. And I believe that I do have experience in that. Another one of my jobs was basically day to day, dealing with customers, dealing with people, dealing with really unhappy people. So I think those elements, that it may not be necessarily applied to a city government or a problem like this, the universal skills are applicable. And I recognize the need. I see merit on both sides of the argument. I recognize the need to compromise on this. It's caused issues in our community, and so I just want people to know, people probably look and say, oh, well, he would benefit financially. Well, I don't receive a dime from any short-term rental. I recognize that there's compromise needed to be made here, and I just ask for y'all to consider that when you vote.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else? Joe?
Yes, I said my name is Joe Cronwalt. I'm a retired mining engineer. Like I said, my parents have owned the depot since the mid-'70s, and only recently have we been afforded the luxury to spend quite a bit of time in Pitkin. We also have property in Tin Cup, and I'm a member of the Tin Cup Civic Association, as well as the treasurer of the board of directors of the Tin Cup Civic Association. I really have no preconceived notions about the answer here, but I certainly see that there's a lot of challenges to address, and it's a pretty complicated issue. During my career, I served on about every kind of committee you can name, and I've even been a foreman on several juries, those kinds of things. So I have, I think, the experience to work within a committee structure, and then I definitely don't have any preconceived notions on where this is going to end up. Thank you.
Okay,
I have a question for you. Are you going to be around for all the meetings?
I can be, yes. Like I said, I'm retired, and I don't think that's going to be a challenge as long as I have notification of when the meetings will be held. Thank you.
Judy, I don't think that your name's on here.
No, but I'm just, they're just making regulations for the rentals, they're not deciding the question of the rentals.
Right. Okay.
It just sounds like they're talking about something else.
Okay. Brad?
I'm Brad Wick. I've lived here 16 years. I've served on the zoning board a long time. I can't remember. Probably 8, 9 maybe. I kind of understand some of the why the zoning is written like it's written, and some of the requirements in there. I also think the people who are coming to rent these places have an expectation. I mean, when I go, I work a lot away from here. I rent a lot of hotel rooms. I am a transient short-term renter. And you know, I expect the fire alarms to work. You know, I don't expect to be kept up all night. And I think this committee that's being formed is going to have to bring those type of rules or requirements into short-term rentals. Fire protection, fire extinguishers, how do you use a septic? Do you know not to use the garbage disposal even though one is there?
Right.
Things like that have to be defined. And I offered to serve on this committee. I didn't realize that the recommendation was then going to come back up through the zoning board, which I am also a member. But I would be happy to serve. I would probably have to attend some of the meetings by telephone in the next couple, 10 days or so. But after that, I should be here.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Yes.
Okay, I've just lived here for 42 years and ran a business that has a very user thing. Followed our rules. We made our own rules, so we would be good neighbors back then, you know. So, and we've never had a complaint that I know of. But and I, you know, I just want to look at the situation and make a decision where it's all the best for everybody.
Okay, thank you. Kathy? Oh, you'll be next.
My name is Kathleen Rose. I live behind Nancy's Needle. I have a co-lease there with my daughter Juliet, who will be back up here in about a week and a half. Personally, my decision for coming to Pitkin was when I came here in the summertime. I fell in love with it. I think it's a very unique, beautiful community, and it's suffering some growing pains right now, but that's inevitable. You can't stop change. I think I can bring a fresh set of eyes to the situation because I'm not really in one camp or another. I have a government background, government service for 20 plus years. So I know about deadlines and being thorough and accurate. And I think I also have a unique perspective in that I can see both sides of the fence here. I came from a very small town in West Virginia. The dynamics of that town are very similar to this town, which is probably one of the reasons I was drawn here, because it does remind me of back home. And however, I've also worked in a large metropolitan area, in the assessor's office and in water resources, and I could go on and on. But I really feel that I can lend a fresh perspective, and I can make fair and balanced and sane suggestions. So that's why I put my name in the hat for this committee.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Gwen?
Gwen Tails. I've been here since 2007. I am a permanent resident. I retired here. I don't have the passions of a long-term resident. But I do like Pitkin as it is. So I have a degree in behavioral science. I've worked as a human resources manager for most of my career. I worked for Price Waterhouse as the resource manager for special projects, utility software program. at that site at Christ White House. I was the go-to person whenever there were problems with the relationship with the employee and the supervisor, and I had quite good success with that kind of thing. I think I can bring a perspective of someone who loves cooking, but whose grandfather didn't live here. So I'm not so tied to what was, and can recognize that there is a need for planned growth for any community to move forward. But a community has to move forward as a group, not as individuals out on their own. So I would like to be a part of it, to bring that type of perspective.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
I'm Lynn Pope. My husband and I bought the Pitkin Hotel.
Okay.
So we are new in town, plan to be here all summer. I am a geologist, both of us are. I have taught for 26 years at the University of Southern Mississippi. I have one more year to teach there and then plan to retire. We found Pitkin kind of by accident and fell in love with it several years ago. And now that we have the hotel, it's in our best interest to see, things to work right in town and for people to kind of figure things out together. I've been on a lot of university committees and high school committees, president of my son's PTA and that kind of stuff. Work with all ages, students and administrators and whatever, and think I could bring a new perspective on things here, and willing to work with people, and as some people say, fresh eyes at what's going on.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Candy?
I'm going to speak on behalf of Chris and I. I'm Candy Nassau, my husband Chris. We own the Silver Plume General Store. We've had lodging there beginning our 4th year this summer. We have done lodging at the home that's been in question, 724 State Street, for 2 years. And we're okay with whichever way this goes, but we would like to be able to bring to a committee the fact that we know about paying the taxes that are due. We always instructed our renters that we don't have garbage disposals in either one of the properties that we do bookings on. There are no pets allowed at any of the properties that we have. We do allow them at Silver Plume with a fee. But we've been doing some rentals for, like I said, almost starting our 4th year, some only 2 years. But I think we could help as far as what would be needed for rentals, what people say, what people request, and what would be best for the city. We feel like we've made quite an investment here, not only with the store and our home, but we brought our son and our daughter-in-law here. They've given up great jobs to be in Pitkin, and this is where they want to be, and we would like to see it succeed for them as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Hang on, I just wanted to be last.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm going to kind of pretty much read what I read on my letter to apply for.
What's your name?
My name's John Wise. Actually, that was on here. My name is John Wise. For more than 5 years, I've been a full-time resident of Pitkin. And this is my only home. So when the snow starts blowing, I don't go away. I'm here. Okay? And within 36 hours of moving here, I was a registered voter in Pitkin, Gunnison County in the state of Colorado. I had a Colorado driver's license, a Colorado license plate, and a Colorado insurance. I was happy to be here, and I was glad to quickly pay and license and register as a citizen of Colorado and Pitkin in general. All businesses, I believe, that's engaged in lodging should be held to the same rules and the same laws and standards for public safety. Anyone paying for lodging has a reasonable right to assume that their safety and overall best interest is paramount to the lodging facility. It will be my position that we develop and require all lodging entities to meet certain minimum standards with regard to cleanliness, sanitation, and emergency, whether it's the prevention, notification, or evacuation. To further provide that as a part of the annual application, that documentation be provided proving that sufficient insurance, taxes, and everything has been properly taken care of and is up to date. And regardless of the outcome of this committee and any resulting action of the town board, I do not stand to benefit financially from this. I'm just a concerned property owner in Pittman. I want to be part of this process to make sure that all concerns, pros and cons, are discussed and considered. My concerns are for the best interest of the town of Pitkin and anyone who pays to sleep here, as well as the wildlife, the streams, and the forests that also call this valley home. That's my...
Okay, thank you. And I guess he was last. Anybody else? Oh, Joe?
Well, I can't compete with what everyone else just said. That was wonderful, John. I'm Joe Buchanan, I'm in Trino 3, and I guess I was interested in the committee. Matt is my husband, and we worked hard for years to earn the privilege to live in Colorado and chose Pitkin as our home. I'm still thankful every day when I wake up that I have the privilege to live here. So I guess I have some concerns for the town, and I just want it to go in the best direction for Pitkin. Let's see, I was a special ed teacher, and since we moved here, I worked at the post office. We owned the Silver Bloom for 5 years. Now I'm back at the post office after the Pitkin, and we own Court Street Storage, which we have for 10 years. So we have a lot invested in Pitkin as well, and just love to be here. So anyhow.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I'll say a little bit.
Okay.
I'm Rand Mikowski. I've been here 20 years. I'm the building inspector, the sewer inspector, and the fire chief. And I've already dealt with some engineers on what we need to do with sewers and how they work, so I have pretty good knowledge of what we need to know on that. And I'm dealing with the fire marshal in town about what we'll need to have in the buildings for safety. And as far as building inspector, I really don't think that has anything to do with the building on this committee, but I can help out with the sanitation and the fire with it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I guess that would leave me.
What's that?
I guess that would leave me because I'm on here.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm Susie Metzler. I've lived here for 19 years, and I owned the Silver Plume for 8 years. And now I have the High Country Storage at the beginning of town that we've had since 2012. My kids grew up here. I have a real love for the town. I've been on the town board for 18 years, and I've been the environmental health clerk for 10 years, I guess.
At least.
Yeah. And I don't know, I think you guys probably know me, and anyway, that's me.
Okay. Anybody else?
Your brother is on the list, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not able to be here though till next week, so I mean, he would be awesome. His whole career was in city planning and community or county. He was a county manager of Finney County, Kansas. And he would be great on the committee, but if it's meeting starting tonight and if it has to be the same group the whole time, he wouldn't be able to do it because he won't be here till Sunday.
Okay.
Be real good.
Anyone else? Okay, we can go ahead and...
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, what
Yes.
I'd like you guys all to do is take this, circle 7 names. We cannot do a secret vote, so circle 7 names. Then I will collect them all. I will stand over at the table and mark down the votes and announce them publicly so that they are part of the public record. So get cracking.
So do we put our name? I have a question, Jim. So do we put our name on this sheet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Miss Patrice, would you come over here and hang out with me and watch me write them down so that you can just make sure I don't screw it up? Just a non-involved third party to watch and make sure I don't do something inappropriate. So as I read them out.
Yeah, this
Fold up. You can't do a private vote. Nope. Open rules law.
Yep. I could have told you that. It's open. You gotta read it. It's open rules law.
Because it would be a little. Because we're going to keep track of how many votes you get. Oh no, he voted twice. You only get 7 votes. This way, is that no, I've got to check. I looked at the Colorado Open Laws Act today, and trust me, you good for
No, he's supposed to be working on it right now. He said he would call. I told him it was going to be this meeting. So he's supposed to call. He doesn't call it. We're going to let you get the card.
So you can gas and take the car.
Yeah. It's cheaper. Yes, it's cheaper than
Yes, I did. But I didn't want to get involved in this but she had
Work in this area.
I don't want to
0.5 million acres.
Fuller said 2 million.
Sometimes seems like it. Yeah, yeah, a lot to cover. A lot of things going on, looking at problems, going damage to some flooding house.
excuse me, maybe it's attention as I'm going through this. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to identify who the Board of Trustee member is and identify their 7 votes. At some level, this has been contentious. If you don't like their votes, treat them with respect anyway, because if you don't, you really should not be part of what we're doing today. This needs to be done as an open vote under the Sunshine Law. Just, I don't expect there to be disrespect, but there's been enough strife thus far. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So beginning, Rand has voted for. Rand Mikowski, Brad Wick. What am I doing now? You're supposed to keep an eye on me. Gwen. Pete Olson, Lynn Pope, John Wise, Corey Nasso. Susan Metzler. Voted for Rand Mikowski. Brad Wick. Gwen Matee. Matase.
Matase.
My apologies, Miss Gwen. Pete Olson. Joe Grenewald. Lynn Pope. John Wise. Steve Pinkston voted for. Rachel New. Chris Nasso, Gwen. What? No, that's just a check mark that recently. You're looking for circles, Patricia. So I said Gwen, Joe Buchanan, Joe Grenewald, John Wise, Corey Nasso, James Sharpton, Brad Wick, Lisa Stonquist, Ann Posen. I didn't say. Okay, Ann.
Good.
Gwen. Pete Olson, Joe Buchanan, John Wise, Sean Cleveland, voted for. Lisa Stonquist, Chris Nasso, Ann, Candy, Joe Buchanan, John Wise, Corey Nasso, Matt Buchanan, voted for. Rachel New, Brad Wick, Gwen, Pete Olson, Joe Grenewald, John Wise, Corey Nasso, Cindy Wick, voted for. Rand Mikowski, Brad Wick, Chris Nasso, Ann, Susie Metzler, Joe Buchanan, John Wise. That so far? Okay, so.
Sure, that's fine.
So, is Pete gonna be?
He'll be here starting Sunday, and then he'll be here
Okay.
for weeks.
Well, we've got, 6 persons receiving 4 or more votes, and 4 persons receiving 3 votes. Mr. Mayor, would you like me to announce the 6 names that received 4 or more votes?
Yes, you can.
And then we can do a runoff vote for the final one.
Okay.
John Wise, 7 votes. Corey Nasso, 4 votes. Brad Wick, 5 votes. Gwen, 5 votes. Pete Olson, 4 votes. Joe Buchanan, 4 votes. The persons receiving 3 votes are Rand Mikowski, Chris Nasso, Ann, and Joe Grinewalt. So I think you need to do a runoff for one of those four names, Rand Mikowski, Chris Nasso, Ann, or Joe Grinewalt.
Did you want to say something, Chris?
If it's possible, I'd like to withdraw.
It's possible.
Okay, so then a runoff between Rand, Ann, and Joe
Okay.
Grinewalt, not Buchanan. So just rip a piece of paper and here, you want a little scrap? Well, just say who you vote for at this point.
Yeah.
James. Okay. Rand.
Oh, did you say Rand or Ann?
Joe.
He said,
Ann.
And Rand says Joe. Rand says Joe.
Okay.
Randy.
Mr. Mayor.
Joe.
Randy.
Ann.
Rand.
Mr. Buchanan, you are the deciding vote.
This is not really fair. You know, I just met Joe yesterday in Tin Cup. I'm gonna vote for Joe Grinewalt.
You've got your 7.
Okay.
Who's the seventh one?
Yes?
Joe Grinewalt.
I'd like to ask a question, since this is a duly appointed committee of the trustees. Would I be right to assume that they fall under the same Open Meetings Act and their meetings must be public and announced?
They are subject to the open meetings law, both in terms of their activities as a committee and in their communications as individuals.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, would you read the list out again, please?
Sure, I will. And I'll explain why I smiled, because I had a little additional thing I wanted to share with the group. Where's the last one that... I'm looking for the numbers. Where did... Oh. There it is. John Weiss, Corey Nasso, Brad Wick, Gwen Matee. Matees. Okay. M-A-T-I-E. That's how it says in here.
It's M-A-T-A-I-S. Just call me Matees.
That's not fair. Pete Olson, Joe Buchanan, and Joe Grinewalt won in the runoff. So are there any questions as to the 7 persons? Now, Ramon, thanks for asking that question. I wanted to share with the group, can I read these pictures?
Sure you can, sure you can.
Part of what I wrote to the board today was there's 2 paragraphs that just talked about the process, and I'll read them. The message must be clear to the persons interested in participating in the committee. This should not be viewed as an opportunity to vent, disparage neighbors, or unwaveringly promote an agenda. Candidates should be interested in crafting a proposal to the Board of Trustees that reasonably addresses the needs of the Pitkin community. And then, this is what I was talking about, Ramon. The committee has no authority to take any action other than making a proposal to the Board of Trustees. All committee meetings would be deemed open meetings pursuant to the Colorado Sunshine Law. Committee members would be subject to the Colorado Sunshine Law. So,
Do they know what that means?
so if you have any questions as to what that means, either give me a call or grab my shirt at the end of the meeting.
Well, why don't you just go ahead and tell us?
That means that if you get together with 2 of your buddies and you start talking about this, you're in violation of the Colorado Sunshine Law.
That's 2 or 1?
No, ma'am, 2.
2. So if you're
A quorum or 3, whichever number is less. So in this context, quorum would be a majority, which is 4. So if you get together with 2 of your friends and you start talking about this, you're in violation of the open meetings law.
Thank you. 2 of your friends that are on the committee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Corey, did you?
That's what I was just asking for clarification.
Okay.
You said buddies, and I was like, well, how are people in the committee supposed to talk?
I thought Mount Pitkin's a tight community.
Yeah.
You can talk about music or anything else, but you just
Weather.
cannot talk about
Yes,
this.
that's correct. That's correct. Okay, are we ready to
Decided by,
John, you guys can decide that at the next meeting, which will begin in approximately
so
a minute.
this committee will choose its own chair.
That is correct.
okay?
Now, what do we have to record?
Yes, James,
Yeah, we're getting ready to close it.
yes.
I would like to make a suggestion and maybe this is not the appropriate place or time, but time is important, that the next town board meeting, that we have an executive session with the attorney to discuss the municipal court, the legal process, legal actions as far as, implementing the law.
Well, okay, there
Is that,
is going to be an executive session for one to interview applicants for the clerk treasurer job. So we are going to have an executive session.
Correct, but you need to have an appropriate.
It'll have to be listed on the agenda.
that's,
As
yes.
potentially going to executive
Yes.
session.
is that sound reasonable? I mean, you'd be the key player, so.
As long as it's on the agenda, that's duly posted.
Candy, did you want to say
I was just
something?
gonna question if this committee's going to meet,
Oh, hold it. Oh, okay.
if the committee's going to meet tonight,
Uh-huh.
you only have 6 of your 7 committee members here. Is that a problem?
Well, I guess that they will have to figure that out, because probably what they're going to do this time is elect a chair and set some ground rules and like that, I'm assuming.
Well, they can do whatever they want.
That's right.
The mayor's not telling them.
I'm not telling them what they have
There's a
to
whole
do.
list of things the attorney gave us at our last meeting, what things are good to cover.
Because
At last meeting or this meeting?
to me, the idea behind doing this is to get ideas from the residents of the town. You sit out there and you listen to us and you listen to what we want. This is time for you to tell us what you want. So at this time, it's 7:50. I will turn it over to the committee.